those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell, and we have a lot to kind of recap. It was a big weekend. Week 10 results are here. We have playoff pairings that are official. And the OHSA was able to release them yesterday, so we don't have to project anymore. They are official, as the kids like to say. And we also have, volleyball results from Saturday and soccer results from Saturday. And we're getting right back into tournament games today with some girls soccer action tonight as well. So a lot to kind of recap from the weekend, Ty. And how was your weekend, man? I know you were able to come down to the studio on Friday night and you got out to the Saxon Club yesterday for our playoff preview show. You're making your rounds.
It was busy to say the least. Yeah, late night on Friday night, but it's always great talking with some legends like Mike Ackles and of course DJ and then Quinn there. It was good conversations too. And then going into Sunday, of course that Saxon Club. I mean, it's always great talking with area coaches that are going on to play week 11 too, and they got their squads ready and geared up for this 11th week of the football season. It's always exciting times when you could say you're playing when a lot of other teams aren't.
I'm just always shocked when you're not in red or black.
Yeah, I know. I'm repping baseball right now. I got the World Series YSN.
I look like I'm on like a red screen. You can't see my arms, can't see my body. All you can see is my face and my hands. That's all I am. I'm playing the Invisible Man today.
By the way, I mean these
Monday, so I got to rock the red.
Yeah. These shirts were nice too. Thanks to the NABF World Series, another great thing we got to participate in over the summer. I can't wait for the shirts to see what we're going to see for our volleyball All-Star game, though.
We have a lot to get to, and the first thing we got to get to are the final results from Week 10, and we start with LeBray getting their first win of the season, and it was emphatic. They won handedly, 34-8 over Camo Memorial. Thought this game would be a little bit more competitive, especially the way the Red Devils were able to beat Champion early in the season. They had a couple of wins under their belt. They at least proved that they could make plays down the stretch of games if they were close. But LeBray just controlled this game from the start. 34-8, they get the win.
And congratulations to the Vikings seniors and that whole team for going out with a victory too. You never want to lay a goose egg in a season if you can help it. And the Vikings do avoid the 0-10 season. They get their first win of the year, and it's a good thing to go into next season with. It's a building block, if anything else.
Absolutely. We go into our next final, and it is Cheney taking care of East 34-0. No problems here as the Cheney Cowboys charge into their playoff run with a lot of momentum, beating their Youngstown rival 34-0.
This Region 9 is getting crazy too. And actually University School, which South Range is pretty familiar with, actually jumped Cheney at the last second to prevent Cheney from being a top 4 team. Cheney now the 5 seed. They're going to be matched up with a very good Alliance team in the first round of the playoffs. So it's going to be exciting. Aviators Cowboys.
It's interesting, Ty, because South Range made that University team look pedestrian at best.
That's what I would talk.
DJ
and I were actually discussing this yesterday and about this University School, and just I was like, I I don't want to toot our own horn, but I think all three of our YSN teams that are in the top 5 can easily beat this university school at South
Either
Range.
that or South Range went there and played like the game of their life to make.
Yeah, and I don't know if that. I mean, I know South
Yes.
Range plays great every week, but I think I've seen better performances from the Raiders than that.
There was a moment when University School, I think it was like 21-14 at halftime, but then obviously South Range came out and owned the second half. So
I feel like South Range definitely had a blueprint, and Coach Yeagley definitely had the blueprint on how to beat University School. You might see some of the YSN teams come knocking. There's a certain Cardinal team right down the road.
I don't want to dive too deep into that matchup in that game, but one of the things that we notice is, a lot of teams, when they're going up against height, they'll just try to go up for the jump ball. And, their receivers over there at University are like 6'2", 6'3", big guys. So what South Range did a really good job of is we're not going to try to go up and high point the ball. We're going to catch you on the way down before you bring the ball down to your body and just knock it out of your hands.
And I mean, it's a smart move, but it's got to be well executed too. And that's what you're going to have to see throughout all of these playoffs.
All right, so let's go. We said it before. Blueprints only work if you have the tools to execute them. So the next score is Brookfield. They took care of Champion 42-7 to secure their outright MVAC grade tier championship. Brookfield just has been on a absolute tear ever since losing week 1 to Ursuline.
Another 5 seed too. And we actually got a chance to talk with Coach Randy Clark yesterday. And honestly, I really love the energy that he brings to this team. And I love the attitude of this Brookfield Warriors team. Like he said, they're not afraid of anybody. They'll play anybody. Kirtland does not intimidate the Warriors going into this playoffs. They have Pie Valley to start, but they definitely are looking ahead and they're saying, hey, anyone that comes in our way, we're ready to take them.
We go into Canfield as they took care of Boardman 35-6, and kind of we said it right way back in that Warren Harding game for Boardman, because they lost that heartbreaker on the last second field goal. Those last 3 weeks of the season were going to be tough, and they absolutely were for the Spartans.
It actually, it just didn't work out for Boardman in this last week. It was Canfield from the jump, and the Cards never looked back from the initial score. And really what it sets up Canfield with is a very interesting 2-15 matchup, with New Philadelphia being a 6-4 squad. However, this is a New Philadelphia team that has also beaten Dover on the season, and that was a team that gave Canfield some trouble. New Philadelphia, always a good program, so you expect this to be a good game. Not an easy first-round matchup.
It's all about what New Philadelphia team shows up. And
they are a 50-50 team this year, it seems like.
Canfield, though, watching that matchup against Boardman, is every single position Canfield had the edge. Like, I don't care if you're talking the line, the secondary versus receivers, the linebackers versus, the secondary blockers, quarterback play, every part of the game. Canfield was just outmatching Boardman in every way they could.
And that's what the Cardinals have done defensively.
And
they've been locked in size-wise.
Really,
They have the advantage.
I know Boardman, they've lost games, but that's the first time that I've seen them kind of be completely outmatched from first quarter to fourth quarter.
Yeah, with that one, and then Maslin Jackson.
Yeah, Maslin Jackson. Those two games were the only ones where I saw them just be completely put out of their game plan from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. Because even against Finch, they kept it competitive for a while. Against Cheney, they definitely came out of halftime and made it a 7-point game. So people forget, despite that game ending up being a blowout at the end, it wasn't completely dominated from pin to pin for Cheney. So first time, a good call though, other than Maslin Jackson, who came in and just kind of owned the night against Boardman earlier in the season. But this Canfield team, they're good at outmatching their opponent.
They absolutely are, and it was a great performance in Week 10, gearing them up for the playoffs.
All right, Garfield, they had to respond from that loss to Brookfield, and they did emphatically. 56 points put on the board against Liberty as they win 56-27 over the Leopards to end their win streak.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a case, though, where Garfield just missed having a home game. They were going to go to Conneaut in an 8-9 matchup, and this is a battle of 8-2 teams. And talking with Coach Moser yesterday, I mean, his guys are ready. This is going to be a great game. It's going to be hard-hitting and physical.
Yeah, this is going to be old-school football. We've seen Conneaut plenty of times this year. They love to run. They love to play slow football. And they're going to be physical. As
you remember, Ant, the Edgewood Warriors actually took Conneaut to overtime in the first game of the season. That was a great game.
Was it over? I know Connie.
Maybe not overtime, but it took them to the last second.
Right.
I think.
I think it was the last second. I think the next week Conneaut took Western Reserve to overtime.
Yeah, that's what it was.
They beat them in OT.
So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Garfield, though, and Coach Moser, they've been here before. They've tasted playoff atmosphere. They're going to be prepared for this matchup.
Absolutely, and it's if you like old school football, that's what that one's going to be. We go to Columbiana. They end the season with 3 wins in a row, and this one, the most impressive, beating a playoff team 27-6 to end their regular season. I feel like they just needed that one game where they saw results, and then all of a sudden the confidence kind of grew a little bit, and they really got on a roll. Too bad for Columbiana that they don't have more games to make up, because the way this team was playing, if they would have started that run in week 5, you could probably see them, going on a 4 or 5 game winning streak, maybe making the playoffs. But unfortunately for them, that little run started a little bit too late in the season.
Yeah, and you know what? Bob Spate got his 200th win, and he just couldn't stop after that.
Right.
Couldn't stop winning.
I like this.
So maybe
the
momentum will carry.
Now he's at 202.
Yeah, maybe it'll carry into next season, and maybe you'll see a 10-0 Clippers team. You never know. But a great way to end the year for Columbiana. Ended on a high note.
A lot of young guys coming back. So, that momentum, they could carry it right in next year. I know there's a long off season and a lot of work to put in before that, but, you could carry that momentum right into next year. Who knows? Clippers are never down long, that's for sure, in that football program. Middle Ridge found themselves in a heck of a battle in Atwater. They were once down 20-14, and they came back, scored 14 unanswered late in the game, and escaped Atwater with a 28-20 win over the Vikings.
Yeah, and I mean, talking with Coach Shaner yesterday about this, he mentioned how Waterloo's always one of those opponents that just plays the Rams tough, but he really liked the character he saw from his guys, too, playing in one of those close ball games and coming out on top. You got to remember, the Rams in their previous victories, they were blowing opponents out, and their 2 losses came in a close one against Lowville and a close one against Springfield. So it was nice for the Rams confidence-wise to see that they can play in a close game and persevere at the end. And that was a great Week 10 matchup for them to be able to do so and prepare them right before the playoffs.
I'm convinced that the Rams defense is going to keep them in the game against almost anybody. So I think if their offense just, gets a little bit more consistent in the big games, especially this one until the fourth quarter against Lowville and against Springfield, their offense has been slowed down and couldn't really catch up to their defensive performance. But you look at those losses, they held this Lowville team to 21, which is remarkable considering what Lowville has been doing on offense all year. And then they held Springfield to 20 and now Waterloo to 20. So in their close games, their defense is definitely not been the issue.
The most points they've allowed this year was 21 points to Lowville, and that's a very good, high-flying, record-breaking Rockets offense. It's a solid Rams defense, and their defense is what's going to keep them in the game. It's all about, can the offense give them enough points on the scoreboard to be able to get them a victory. But they have Canton Central Catholic for Week 11, so a tough draw. They're going on the road.
That is a very tough draw.
But you know what? We've seen Canton Central Catholic look one of 2 ways, too, all throughout the season. So it depends on which team shows up.
But here's the thing about Canton Central Catholic. They can score. So it's going to be another big test for Middle Ridge.
Absolutely.
Week.
We'll have to see if the Rams defense is up to the test. They've been up to it against some really good offenses all year. They got a big one coming up this week.
Crestview's defense back in full steam as they were able to beat Newton Falls 20-0. We saw this Crestview defense really, really play well the first 4 weeks of the season. A little bit of falter in that middle of the schedule against really good teams in the MVAC. But then now ending the season with a shutout, I think Crestview going to have to rely on their defense. You muted yourself. Still muted. Mute. You're muted. Ty.
I was gonna say, it's unfortunate because Crestview just missing the playoffs at 17. Cleveland Central Catholic couldn't get the job done on Saturday, so Crestview was unfortunately the 17th team out. But yes, there are a lot of great things to see from the Rebels and shutting out your opponent to end the season. A lot of good things looking forward to for Coach Cusick.
We talked about it. They were on the edge. Win didn't guarantee them a spot. Unfortunately, they got that win. But it's going to be a sad thing. They only got 9 games, and that missed game in Week 5 could have been the difference.
It was a roll of a dice between 2-0-9 teams. The Crestview needed the other team to win, and Cleveland Central Catholic couldn't pull out the victory. So it was definitely a heartbreaker. But you know what? Coach Cusick has a lot of great talent. He's a fantastic coach. Time to get to work in the offseason because the Rebels definitely, when they miss the playoffs, something doesn't sit right in that Crestview community.
Sorry, Crestview, you were let down by a team from Cleveland, like most Browns fans. Couldn't resist that joke. Sorry. We go to Girard. This was probably the most thrilling game of the day, especially if you like offense. 35-33, Girard escapes Niles, a team that was already mathematically eliminated, trying to shock the Indians. And Girard did just enough to get out of there with a win, 35-33 by 2 points.
They call this the Battle of 422, I believe, and it's just because these two teams, I mean, backyard teams are rivals, and you throw records out the window when these two teams meet up. But, I mean, really one of the X factors for the Red Dragons came back in Antoine Brown, and you can see the difference that young man can make when he's 100% healthy on a football field and can keep you in a lot of ball games, and he definitely kept the Red Dragons into this one till the very end. Girard able to just barely pull it out.
When you ask the question, what can Brown do for you? The answer is a lot, and he proved that in the season finale.
You know what? And this is why I love postseason football, because Girard being the 3 seed, they're going to be matched up home game with Hubbard. And for Hubbard, it's a redemption opportunity. This happened just a couple weeks ago, back in week 8, I believe, against the Eagles. Hubbard lost that one 49-14. And you know the Eagles are looking at that score and saying, no, there's no way we can end the season against Girard like that.
I think they know they're better than that score. They might not say, hey, we should have won that game per se, but they know they're a lot better.
We can be competitive. Yeah, we can be competitive against Girard.
Hey, Wyndham gets a huge win to end the season, 39-8. They beat New Baltimore, and they make it look like old Baltimore.
Coach I, too, is incredibly proud of this team. And, I mean, how can't you be when you're talking about, I think, roughly 13, maybe 14 boys that are on this football team dealing with injuries, but playing
with 18, right? I mean,
playing both sides of the ball and still able to grab a 14 seed, grabbing some wins, key wins, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, winning a ball game to get yourself a date in the postseason. And it's a Danville team that's going to be 8-2 on the season. It's going to be a tough draw when you're going 14 against 3. But hey, we've always seen upsets happen, and the Wyndham Bombers definitely have that grit grind mentality of a team that's ready to make an upset.
They have a lot of weapons on their offensive side too, so they know how to score, and their wins especially, they have been high-flying offense. This offense has not been held down too much this year. Only a couple times have defenses been able to really slow down the Bombers.
Yeah, Bombers definitely know how to score. That's for sure.
Oh, this was a lot more of a big win margin than I expected. Struthers beating Poland 35-7.
The Wildcats right now are clicking on all cylinders, and I mean, talking with Coach Bay again this season right now. Before that polling game, he mentioned about wanting more, and you know the Wildcats, they clinched the playoff spot, but they wanted more. And because of the way things fell out in that Division 4 region, what is that? I think 13. Struthers now is going to be hosting a playoff game. And I mean, if you would have told the Wildcats that after week 5, I don't know if they would necessarily believe you, the community, but the boys definitely would on this team. They believed in each other. They believed in coach. And I mean, they've all rallied together. They've rattled off now, what is that, 5 straight victories to end the season and get themselves a home matchup against Edgewood. And it's a very good Edgewood team we've introduced to the YSN network, and we love all YSN matchups.
Edgewood team that will get you, by the way, but they got their big rivalry win as well, as they beat Lakeside last week.
And, you know, Battle of the Bridge is what they call it. And that's a huge win for Edgewood because they got them pushed up into the bracket. So now they're going to be taking 8-9 matchup, just barely missed hosting. But, hey, still for the Warriors, get into the playoffs. And really successful year for Ashtabula County teams. I actually saw a post from 4-0 and Goal, and they were saying how it's been one of the most successful years of the county with how many teams have made the playoffs. And I mean, it's hard to say, or it's hard not to say that when we've seen all these Ashtabula County teams visit here, and they've definitely they've made their presence be known to some of our local teams. And
all right, South Range. Hubbard's defense kept the Raiders a little bit lower than normal, but South Range's defense won up them and pitched a shutout, 28-0. The Raiders beat Hubbard, and they end the season 10-0. I should say, I almost said for the third straight time, but 2020, that was the COVID year. You didn't get 10 games in the regular season, but second straight 10-0 regular season and the third straight undefeated regular season for the Raiders.
Nice year again for Dan Yeagley and company, as they will take the number 1 seed in Region 17 to the playoffs in a matchup against the MVAC Gray Division's Liberty Leopards.
That's interesting. 2 teams, same color scheme, one, but it's a Liberty team that has found an offensive groove, so that Raider defense.
It's like
put to the test again.
This is like your first love going against your sweetheart, Ant. It's like they met each other now.
No.
You didn't want them to introduce each other to themselves. They met each other now, and you're caught in the middle.
How about this? More in JFK. Do you think they were the better team on the field? 50-0. 50-0. JFK beats Southeast. No doubt about it. When JFK plays lower division teams, they make their presence known.
That was a Division 6 team too, still a division above JFK. So you look at them going into D7, and I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, one potential matchup that we can see, providing that Springfield takes care of business against Matthews, we could potentially see JFK Springfield in round 2. And
for correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas is still in that region, right?
Lucas is number 10 right now. Actually, a down year for Lucas.
But I always think those programs that have winning pedigrees are sneaky if they get into the playoffs.
I tell you,
there's a switch that turns on in those kind of programs that just know how to win in the playoffs.
I tell you what, I think Southern might be able to put up a ball game too, a top 4 team. Their defense has looked really good this season. I think Southern, being a top 4 team in this region, could definitely provide some issues. Lowville, how can you not talk about the 10-0 Rockets? That could be a very fun matchup in D7, talking about JFK and Lowville. Or you might see round 2 of Lowville Springfield. There's a lot of great fun all YSN matchups that could come out of this.
Sean Phillips pointing out that JFK has beaten the 9-1 D4 Perkins team. Shows how good JFK is. Absolutely, JFK is only getting better. And I feel like every time they go out there, even doing stuff that we haven't seen from them even in the last week. So
I'm just fingers crossed that teams take care of business, because JFK versus Springfield has been something we talked about way in like the offseason.
As soon as Springfield went down to Division 7, it was
we were like, this could be the matchup, and this could be a second round matchup, and it would be a premier second round matchup at that.
And then also, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dalton is still going to be lingering in that region as well. They're a good Division 7 team that always makes noise.
Not Dalton, Danville, but yeah, Dalton is a good. I think Dalton might be actually D6 now, but Danville is a
See, all these teams out of YSN that moves.
Dalton is 6, yeah. Dalton is 6. Danville is 7 too.
That's a move up for Dalton because they've been D6, D7 for a while. They've been one of those teams. I
think Danville might have moved down though, and Danville's a good team this year as well. Toronto's going to be in this one. Matthews, this 8-9 matchup too. We talked with Coach Guerrero with Springfield too. This is going to be interesting as well. But JFK, yeah, they've taken care of business from the onset, with the exception of Mogador, which is probably going to be a team that's going to throw their hat in the race for a state title as well.
Right. That region with the non-YSN teams in that region in Division 6 are no joke either.
No, not at all. And I mean, Mogador's 9-0 on this season. So
and then outside of the region, but one of the scores that I saw that I was like, whoa, Marion Local, who's in Division 6 and one of the favorites to go to state from outside of our region, they beat Coldwater, who's a favorite in Division 5, 35-0 this
That's
week.
Crazy. I love to see it because it just shows that just because they're lower division doesn't necessarily mean anything talent.
I think Kirtland has a couple of teams in the state in that division that aren't going to lay down and say it's yours to have.
There's teams locally that aren't intimidated at Kirtland. So Kirtland, great football team, great pedigree. You got to respect them, but none of these teams seem to fear them anymore.
Orange didn't have a running clock on them at halftime. That was interesting to see.
Yeah, that was interesting to see. You got to wonder if Kirtland was showing out all their guys, but I mean, even if not, Orange being competitive against a very good program in Kirtland, still nice to see for sure.
All right, Southern kept United down, and both defenses really flexed their muscles a little bit, but Southern was able to get a couple of scores, 14-0. They get the win over United.
And I mean, just pitching shutouts this season and the last couple of games is what Southern's done. But I mean, prior to that, they've held a lot of teams to 6 to 7, not a lot of offense. Actually, the most they've allowed this season was 22 to Lisbon back in week 4. Other than that, they've been really on top of their game. Even to Valley Christian in a loss, only 15 points.
You could argue that one of those touchdowns they gave up was one of the ones that, like, you really can't put on the defense because Valley Christian was given such a short field after a turnover to make it. Yeah, I think it was when it was 8-6, and then it made it 15-6.
Yeah,
it came out of the reach. Yeah, I mean, your defense always wants to make the stop, but when Valley Christian is starting at like the 19-yard line, that's a tough ask for the defense. But when you're given a long field against Southern's defense, good luck.
This is going to be interesting too, and I mean, the Southern Indians play that old school style of football. We're going to play defense. We're going to run the ball. And that's how we're going to beat most of the teams we face this year. They're definitely going to throw a wrench into a lot of team seasons that have to come across them in the playoffs, I think.
Southern reminds me of Middle Ridge. Same conversation. Their defense is going to keep them in the game against almost anybody. And it's just, can their offense put up enough and back up that defensive effort?
Yeah, and I mean, that Crestview game stands out as a great defensive performance on the season. The Valley Christian game, even in a loss, stands out. And, of course, this United game really stands out in a shutout against the Eagles.
It's got to be the first time the Eagles have been shut out in quite some time.
Yeah, I would say it's been a while probably.
But another note on this game is Grant Knight, despite the shutout, was able to break the record for career receiving yards at United. So congratulations to Mr. Knight. I know he's been following that, trying to get that record all season. He has that now to match his career receptions record that he broke a couple of weeks ago as well. So Grant Knight, you can call yourself officially now the best wide receiver that's come through United. You have both the records. You have receptions, you have receiving yards in a career.
You love to see it. And I mean, record breakers all over. And I mean, records are meant to be broken, and we're seeing them every single year still.
Right. And that's records are made to be broken unless you're asking the person that holds them.
Yeah. Yeah. I always love seeing if the record breakers on social media, if they give like the shout outs to the new record holder too, and they'll always like put like the crying faces or whatever. Like, you got me on this one.
Well, Grant Hitchcock earlier this season broke the record for career passing yards at Jefferson. He broke his brother's record, so that's the family rivalry. That's like, I got you.
You get to hang that up on the wall then. Right. That's on Mom's fridge permanently. Like that's not getting magnetized to Mom's fridge. That is the magnet. Like, I have the record.
I can see it now. Like Thanksgiving, hey, can you pass the mashed potatoes? Grant goes, I got this. I'm the pastor in this family now. We all know it. Oh, that's fun. Oh, that's going to be a fun time. You got to love it. Ursuline and Mooney did not disappoint, but this score might not be exactly what you thought it'd be if you were an Ursuline fan. Their offense got held to 13 points, but their defense made enough stops and got their 4th consecutive win in the Holy War. 13-7, Ursuline beats Mooney in a classic at Stambaugh Stadium.
It was a classic, and I mean, Mooney did what Mooney always does against Ursuline. They put a great performance against the Irish, and once again, the Cardinals' defense was good enough for Mooney to win the ball game. It was just, again, coin flip on the offense. Which Mooney team were we going to see offensively? Unfortunately, offense couldn't put enough together. Credit the Ursuline defense, because as much as they were struggling on offense, their defense said, all right, we just got to hold them here then. Can't let them get past this mark, and we'll be all right. And that's what they did. Took care of business. But these are two very dangerous teams still going into the playoffs, and I don't care. I mean, Ursuline obviously one of the top 4 in D3 Region 9, so they're going to be a tough out. State championship runner-up a year ago. And, of course, Mooney, though, even with the 4-6 record on the season, Cardinal Mooney going in as a 13 seed, they're going to be playing Edison. Dangerous team is this Cardinal Mooney team, and they definitely – that's going to be an interesting game, I think, Wildcats and Cardinals.
This is going to be a defensive matchup, too, because you look at Edison's defense. I think statistically still the best in the YSN family at their 10-0 record. They haven't given up more than, I believe, 14 all season. I don't think they have anyone that scored more than 14 on them. And they went into week 7 giving up less than a touchdown per game. I think that average has gone up a little bit. Now they have a little bit more than a touchdown per game. But their defense is legit in Edison, and this is their chance to kind of prove it. But you look at it, and Mooney is in the same boat as the couple other teams we talked about with Middle Ridge and Southern. Their defense will keep them in games. You know that. Can their offenses do enough to back that up? I mean, I hate to beat the dead horse and keep saying that about these teams, but we have multiple teams that are in that situation where their defense has been consistently keeping them in games. And in the games that they've lost, it's been their offense that just hasn't been able to find a rhythm and back up that performance. Mooney the same way. Their defense, you hold Ursuline to 13 points, you should win that game. But unfortunately for them, their offense just couldn't find a rhythm, and Ursuline's defense held tough. Another big factor in this game, I think, Ursuline's offense, despite not scoring, never put their defense in a really bad position. They didn't have, the huge negative play that had the punt in the deep in their own territory and gave Mooney a short field. They never really gave Mooney an opportunity to put a lot of pressure on that defense with a short field. So despite Ursuline's offense struggling to move the ball and score, of course, they stayed away from those unforced, self-inflicted wounds that kind of gave Mooney momentum. And I think that was a big key because we talked about that before the game. Okay, Ursuline's offense, you can score, but there have been games where you've put your defense in some bad situations with turnovers and like I said, big negative plays that make you punt deep in your own territory, things like that. So Ursuline stayed away from those unforced mistakes, just managed a defensive game and found a way to win. Mute.
Again, there we go. I mean, it's going to be interesting what Ursuline's going to be able to do in their matchup too, because they're going to be having an 8-2 Hawken team. That's going to be very interesting.
Not the Stranger Things town.
No, the Hawken Hawks actually. But for this, it's going to be interesting because it's going to be 3 versus 14. Can you believe an 8-2 team?
I hope their band knows Stranger Things music, and I hope they play it as their walkout song, especially because it'll be Halloween week. Like you gotta do it.
That would be pretty cool too. And of course, Mooney has to play Edison, and that's a tale of two teams looking to prove themselves and really, I think, prove their worth. There's a lot of people that didn't put Edison on the power rankings despite being undefeated on the season. Edison has a chance to prove themselves against a prestigious program, and of course, Mooney has a chance to prove everyone wrong and saying, our record might not look the greatest, but we're a pretty damn good football team.
And we've been saying it all week. Mooney wants to back up the fact that everyone's been talking how dangerous they'll be in the playoffs. So now it's their chance to back it up. Like, okay, prove that your schedule got you ready for this Division 5 playoff bracket and go and take care of business. Because if all the talk is valid about Mooney being really, really good compared to these Division 5 teams, and honestly, no disrespect to Edison, but Mooney should take care of this Edison team. It shouldn't be much of a matchup if all that hype around Mooney's schedule and what they've been doing and how good they've been playing against really big teams, if all that hype is really valid, then Mooney should really turn around and make this playoff run, because you look at these other Division 5 teams, most of them haven't touched the teams that of the caliber of teams that Mooney played all season. So,
Yeah. Listen, I mean, Cardinal Mooney, if there's any team that's going to be a lower seeded team that can make a run in this region or in these playoffs, it's going to be Cardinal Mooney. But I also want to say, from Edison's standpoint, if there's any coach that can make that turnaround, take that next step, go on a run in the playoffs, it's Coach Colopy, because he's been the guy that's made the turnaround, that's had the great story over there at the Wildcats. And when talking with Coach Colopy last weekend, he talked about that playoff loss last year. Edison made the playoffs. They got a taste of it, and they didn't like the way it ended in the first round. They want to get back to that stage, and they want to prove themselves. This is a tale of two teams looking to prove themselves. It's going to be a great game, I think.
And look, Edison's going to come in, despite being the higher seed and despite hosting the game, they're going to come in with that underdog mentality.
They're going to just come in with a chip on their shoulder. That's what
I think a lot of people are going to be picking them to win that game in the picks. So I think they're going to come in with that underdog mentality, is saying, we're the home team, and people aren't really, picking. They don't think we can win this game. We're the higher seed. We are 10-0. They're going to have that mentality. I guarantee it. They're going to feel disrespected, and they're going to play like a disrespected team.
Should be a fun matchup. Can't wait for Friday.
All right, let's take our first break of the day. When we come back, more recaps and talk about Week 10 on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens. On air, online, Wednesday afternoon weather update,
very dangerous,
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Why choose local? Because you live here, work here, learn here, relax here, and celebrate here. 21 WFMJ is our Valley's only locally owned TV station, and our focus is local. Other TV stations don't have that same focus, as their owners are somewhere else. But 21 WFMJ is rooted in the Valley. Local people making decisions that affect your life, right here where you live.
You're looking to your future, preparing for your goals, and they're closer than you think. Because here, success is part of the plan. It's a place where academic and social opportunities are meant to prepare you for life, not just the next 4 years. You'll be equipped to face new challenges and turn hard work into a career. You're ready for your success to take root. And here's where it starts. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Oops. Wrong camera. Anthony Hartwig with you as we return on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, and Ty Bartell with me as we continue our Monday recap of Week 10. And Ty, we left off with talking about the Ursuline Mooney game in the Holy War, fourth straight win for Ursuline in that Holy War rivalry. Now we go into another rivalry that's been local for a while. You were there. This time around, Fitch wasn't messing around. There was no competitive finish, no wild game-ending kickoff returns for touchdowns or anything that we've seen in this game the last couple of years. 59-28, Fitch just dominates Warren Harding.
Another record-breaking performance by a Fitch running back, and they're just getting used to that. DJ Williams had it last week against Boardman, 301 yards, best single-game performance by a Falcon. And then Jamel James just comes back week 10, 5 touchdowns on the ground and breaks a single-game rushing touchdown record.
He didn't break DJ's record of 301, right? He didn't have that many yards.
He had over 200 yards, though, rushing. So still a
I just wanted to make sure he didn't just cut. Like, that would have been really impressive to have one guy break it, and then the next week, someone else comes in.
1 week you get to hold it. That would be quite the story. But yeah, Falcons running backs, and I mean, Coach Parker's been on record, and I mean, he'll defend those guys tooth and nail, saying he's got the best running back duo in the state. And I mean, he's got a great combination in those two, and they both made their presence and be felt in the Falcons offense in the last couple of weeks. You got DJ Williams too, despite he also had some injuries too that he was dealing with. They wanted to keep him out to keep him healthy throughout the beginning of the game, but still had 118 yards on the ground after just a few carries. So, I mean, it's a great Falcons tandem, great Falcons offensive line, and yeah, they really took care of business to take the all-time series lead, 18-17 now against the Raiders.
All-time series lead, and there's not going to be a playoff rematch like there.
No, not this year. They actually funny. This is the first time in what couple years that they have to face off.
2 years in a row. Regular season finale, playoff matchup the next year. Not so fast, my friend, as Fitch will get a new opponent in the first round of the playoffs, Mayfield, right?
Yeah, 6-4 Mayfield team. It's going to be a solid Mayfield team too.
Almost beat.
Yeah. They almost beat Kenston, which was a really good Kenston team. Yep.
So not a pushover in this matchup for Fitch.
No, not in the slightest. The biggest win they have on the season, I would say, some of the biggest ones. Maslin Jackson is probably one of the bigger ones that I've seen on the season for them too. So I mean, big wins for the Mayfield Wildcats. We'll have to see what they can do as they visit Austintown Fitch and Greenwood Chevy Stadium on Friday.
Who do you think is Fitch's biggest win on the season? Like, they've had a lot of wins and they've definitely beaten a lot of good teams, but you know, I'm trying to like
Ursuline
is probably their biggest win.
Ursuline, maybe Wadsworth, because Wadsworth just being a D1 team. But I mean, Wadsworth, I don't know if I see Wadsworth, even though they're hosting their 7th seed and they're in Region 1. They probably won't make it past like around maybe 2 if they're really lucky. Talking about the Grizzlies, but yeah, I think Ursuline's probably their best team. Ursuline's one of those teams in Region 9 that I still think can make a state title run for sure.
All right, yeah, I think so, because you know the out of state matchups that Fitch had, they were highly hyped up, and I think Fitch had the right intentions of bringing on good teams. But then you look at what those teams have done since, and it's like, it didn't really work out.
They were really good. Yeah, I mean, you look at Bennett, New York, not the greatest team this year. They're kind of struggling, but I mean, the year prior were the state runners up, I believe, for their respective.
And you probably, I mean, I don't know when exactly that game was scheduled, but you probably scheduled them just.
You bring them in with the intentions that they're going to be a solid football.
You're assuming that you're bringing in like a state champion from another state, and it just didn't work out that way. Now I know a lot of Fitch fans, and I've talked to some people that watch Fitch football. They're like, can we just go back to playing the teams that we know are good in the area? You know, and that's a solid argument. But the intention for Fitch was there to bring in really good teams out of state. And I think they wanted those high-profile matchups. We saw this week, actually, who is it? Moeller went to Michigan and beat Michigan, one of Michigan's top high school teams. But I think Fitch wanted to be in that kind of national kind of conversation and bring in, you know, they wanted one of those matchups. It just didn't work out for Fitch with what the teams brought to the table this season compared to
and that's the battle you face when you're a bigger school and kind of like a smaller school kind of area. And that's what Coach Parker talks about. Because when you need these computer points for these regions, you need to face teams that are your division higher, and you need to get as many of those as you can. Unfortunately for Fitch, they can't do that unless they travel, or they can bring teams in too, which they have done with some D1 teams. But yeah, you would certainly like to see them continue that. The problem is they're just going to need to probably travel some more in-state, couple-hour drives maybe to get themselves those D1.
I mean, you wonder if we'll ever see like the Fitch Canfield matchup or, you know, a Fitch Cheney matchup. You know, there are good teams in this area that Fitch would benefit from playing.
I think Fitch would definitely play down to D3. I just don't see them playing much further to down to D3. So if any of those teams were to drop another division, I mean, because you have to worry about which division your opponents are in as well, too, with these computer rankings as far as playoffs are concerned.
Yeah, you definitely in a region as big as Division II, as good as Division II. Fitch is kind of stuck with that rock and hard place where they want to get the highest seed possible, and you got Division I points for those out of state teams. Doesn't even matter what their record was. Like you got Division I points automatically from playing a team out of state.
It is interesting too because there's a courtesy reminder on Joe Idle that also says games played against Canada teams will not count for points in the Harbin ratings in 2023. So Canada teams no longer going to count for any points,
which means no one's going to play them anymore.
Yeah, no one's going to schedule Canadian teams in Ohio.
Canada, eh?
Yeah, so maybe out-of-state teams, but it's going to be interesting to see if rules like that start adjusting for out-of-state teams as well. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do.
Hard to, like you bring a team from another country, it's like how do you even judge what size or how to
style of football? Like not even stylistically, like the game fundamentally, it's played differently in Canada. Like,
and the way football is handled is different because hockey runs Canada. Like football is a secondary sport down there. I think some people came down from Canada, I should say, and were like, "What do you mean you tailgate for high school football? Well, what is this?" Football runs the roost in America. Hockey runs the roost in Canada. So it's a little bit of even a different mindset up there about the whole sport of football.
Yeah, but I mean, no doubt, Fitch getting themselves that big win, getting themselves top 4. Mayfield coming to town on Friday.
All right, we move on to the next score, and it is Wellsville beating Latonia 46-8 to close out the regular season for both teams.
Wellsville was another one of those teams in that situation where they were trying to make a last-second bid for the playoffs. Unfortunately, their number did not get called.
Didn't get the help.
No, did not get the help they needed. Number did not get called. They were unfortunately the 18th team out of 16, so odd team out, but still a 4-6 season for the Tigers. A lot of bright spots on this Wellsville team, too. I mean, you look at Isaiah Greathouse. Greathouse has had a fantastic season, and I mean, what he's been able to do over there with that Wellsville offense, I'm excited to see if he continues his talents in the next season. I believe a multi-sport athlete, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, you'll see him on the basketball.
I thought so. I thought he was a basketball talent. And I mean, for coach down there looking for more wins.
Mr. Bug.
I mean,
he's going to have a good player to deal with in his locker room.
Yeah, Coach Bug.
Remember back when I said that Gerard Niles was could be the thrilling game of the week? Hold up, because Beaver Local played an instant classic. They were down 35 to – they were down 2 scores, so 35-21 with 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They won 49-35.
And I think to Mikey McNuggies was absolutely going nuts, and it was a great.
Texted him. We said, "Breathe, Mike."
I love the energy that Mikey was bringing. He does such a great job over there with Beaver Local, and that's a huge win for the Beavers.
I mean, look, Beavers, great job, but like I've never seen a team collapse the way that who they play.
Wheeling Central Catholic.
Yeah. The way that Wheeling,
season for Wheeling Central Catholic too.
They kind of they said the Beavers tried to get momentum, and Wheeling just said take it. And here's an interception. Take it.
Take it, please.
Here's a kickoff return. Here's a kickoff return for a touchdown. Just take it. We don't want it anymore. It was a collapse. It was a collapse, and then obviously you have to take advantage of that as a team. So Beaver Local absolutely did. But man, it was just one of those ones where we talk about it. Kids, they're kids. One bad thing happens. Sometimes that mindset gets in the way of you, and it really starts to avalanche really quickly, especially in big matchups. And unfortunately for Wheeling, which not a Ysn school, so but unfortunately for Wheeling, it did not go out that way, and they could not hold on.
No, and great win for Local.
You score what is that? 28 points in the matter of 7 minutes in the fourth quarter.
It was insane. And Beaver Local got themselves the 2 seed in their region, and they're going to be matched up with Coventry in week 11. So they're going to be hosting, and Beaver Local has a chance to host. Well, they will have a chance if they could take care of business to host the next round as well.
Jefferson ends the NE8 season with a win over Lakeview, 27-7. The Falcons still flying high. I know they came in with, I think there were 5 coming into the week, so a win there against Lakeview helped them out greatly in keeping a high spot in the playoffs.
Interesting matchup set up now with the Poland Bulldogs for Jefferson. And you got to remember,
they beat him in Poland.
Jefferson came to Poland, ruined the Poland Bulldogs senior night. And now this is an opportunity for all those kids to have a redemption shot for those seniors to go into Jefferson now and ruin the playoff push.
It was the first time ever that Jefferson had beaten Poland in program history. And now they're sitting there like, we got to do it again. you know, we beat them for the first time we've ever beat them before as a program. We got to go do it twice in a season now in the playoffs. Okay, challenge accepted. And Jefferson, Grant Hitchcock, and company are definitely going to be up for the task. That should be a fun matchup within the NE8 rematch in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, Coach Hanna said he wanted to be more competitive against the NE8, and that's exactly
I think they did that. I mean, I know they weren't they definitely lost to the teams that you expect, to win the conference. So they didn't like bust the doors down. But I think Jefferson leaving the NE8 has definitely given some respect on their name to say we belonged in this conference. We can compete in this conference. And if you give them a couple more years, they might be one of the teams that sneaks up and wins the conference eventually. Now, this is the last year in the NE8, so they will be moving on to an Ashley Beulah conference. Yeah. But I think they put some respect on their names in the last year of NE8 play.
Lost to a healthy Girard team early in the season, lost to Struthers and South Range on the year, but they 4-3 in conference play with wins against Poland, wins against Hubbard, Niles, and Lakeview. So that's exactly what Jefferson did. They had one NE8 win last year. They had a winning record in the conference this year. So middle of the pack team, but beat some really good programs this year. And Coach Hanna did exactly what they set out to do, be competitive inside the conference.
Interesting matchup here between teams that are kind of 1 year removed from each other, because Lakeview this year reminds me a lot of Jefferson last year, where they finally got a little bit of taste of success in the non-conference schedule. They had an impressive start to the season, but then, they ran into the NE8. It's a tough conference. They kind of did them in. But now can Lakeview do what Jefferson did this year and come back from that even better next year and keep competing in the NE8? That'll be interesting to see for the Bulldogs, as they had still one of the best seasons that program has had in quite some time.
Absolutely. And I mean, Lakeview just going to be looking to up the offense. They had some good offensive drives that they put together in the early part of the season, and then they kind of struggled in the second half. Definitely going to look to improve on that, but that just takes time. Skill positions take time, take development, especially at the varsity level and especially in this gauntlet of a conference. So I think with you look at what Coach Bellino and crew are doing over there, I think they're going to be just fine. Just got to keep developing the kids.
I believe in Coach Bellino and the energy he's brought to this team. I think he's proven it this year. They bought in. They could have just sunk their heads at 0-10 and said, you know what, let's just pack it in. A lot of people probably could have quit that program. That's 2 straight 0-10 seasons for Lakeview. They could have just said, whatever, I don't want to go and spend my senior year with a winless team. But they stuck it out, and they kind of proved that they can win in that program. So props to Lakeview for a great season, and we'll see them again next year, hopefully a much improved team going forward.
Yep, you always want to get better. That's the big thing.
Next final score was the same score, 27-7. This one did not go the way of our YSN team. Weir beat East Liverpool 27-7.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the times the out-of-state teams comes across the state lines and gets a win on us, as we're going to go back to West Virginia with the victory. But nonetheless, good season. Potters, you got another win on the year, 2-8 records, things to build from going forward in East Liverpool.
We're from Weirton, West Virginia, and we were joking in the studio. We were like, you think they just were like, we're from Weirton, but we're a little bit too lazy to call ourselves Weirton, so let's just shorten it to Weir and call it a day.
Yeah.
We're from Weirton. They get the win 27-7. Congratulations to the Potters on a great season and their seniors for being tremendous leaders in that locker room. Springfield, boy, Did they take some momentum into the playoffs as they put a pounding on Sebring 55-0? They get the win over the Trojans, and they go into the playoffs feeling good about themselves.
Mentioned them earlier when it came with the JFK potential matchup, but Springfield is the 8 seed. They've gotten from 0-4 to hosting a playoff game now against Matthews, a very good Matthews team that we've seen. One of their 2 losses on the year came against the Edison Wildcats. So Springfield might be looking at some tape. Obviously, those games were a few weeks ago, so you want to take as much tape as you can, try to see if you can exploit any weaknesses. But Springfield, I think, has the potential to make a very dangerous run in this playoff still, because you got to just look at the name alone, too, and it's going to bring some prestige. But I can't wait. I hope Springfield is able to pull it off, because these are 2. Matthews is another team that has some prestige with that name, too. It's a good program over there. But then you go into JFK. So the thing is, though, for Springfield, because they've made it into this interesting spot of 8, you win the first 2 rounds. It's pretty much gravy for the Tigers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you beat the 1 seed, the door is wide open, right?
I mean, it's wide open, because even Springfield, I mean, Lowville has a chance to double up on Springfield. Don't get me wrong. But it's so hard to beat a team twice. And Springfield was really close against the Rockets at points in that game.
We talked about it. I mean, you remove the biggest boulder. There are still little obstacles, but that huge boulder is off the path, and it's a lot easier to navigate once you do it. We've talked about that in every playoff run, it feels like, that we've had on Running Point. There's always that big 1 seed, and if you're able to beat them, then that door really opens up for you. Yes, it's still little rocks that you have to avoid on the path, but that's a big boulder that you just slung off the road. And then some people are smart enough to just go around the boulder.
Yeah.
Screw going through it. We're just going to go around it. They do the whole the Germany World War II strategy, where they're like, oh, the French just made this huge defensive line across the Maginot Line. Here's a bold idea. Let's just go through Belgium around it. Never thought.
Never.
That's a bold strategy, man. Bold strategy. Let's get back to football. Jackson Milton had a lot to celebrate because they beat McDonald for the first time in 16 seasons. They get the Blue Devil-sized monkey off their back, and they win 20-7, Blue Jays. And they doused Coach Brode with Gatorade afterwards because it was that big of a win for this program.
It's a huge win for Jackson Milton, and it was a win that Jackson Milton basically needed to try to get themselves into the next round. And I mean, for the Blue Jays, you look at the wins that they've gotten this season, this year too, 7-3 record, another great season for Jackson Milton. And honestly, you see where they're ranked now. Let me just double check on it. Number 13. So yeah, the Blue Jays going to be matched up with Dalton, and that's one of those teams you talked about, a solid team.
Now, they're moving up. You never know how those teams are going to handle the next division up in the playoffs. So that could be an opportunity for Jackson Milton.
It very well could be. And like we said, Blue Jays have been one of those teams that have been very solid this year. Only 3 losses on the year, and they didn't lose consecutive games at all. 3 losses against Springfield, Mineral Ridge, and Lowville. And I mean, those are the teams, the programs that are the ones you try to get over every single year, it seems like. Well, at least with Lowville and Springfield, we expected Mineral Ridge bursting onto the scene.
Yeah, and all 3 of those games, though, I think for the downside of Jackson Milton, all 3 of those games really weren't competitive.
Yeah, and that's the only downside for the Jackson Milton Blue Jays. And yeah, you just want to be competitive in those games, and they were against this McDonald team, and they were able to pull off a big victory. The big thing with the Blue Jays and the advantage that they're going to have going into this playoffs is they've played in a lot of different types of ball games and found ways to win in different types of ball games. And, you know, just having those experiences, I think, are going to pay off for the boys, hopefully, going into this first round.
Louisville had a slow start on Friday against Western Reserve, threw a couple of interceptions that were very uncharacteristic of Mr. Malone, but they got it back into gear, and they won 34-7 over Western Reserve to complete their undefeated season.
Nice win for the Rockets as they go undefeated. They're the conference champions, and they get Catholic Central in the first Steubenville Central.
Steubenville.
Why do they put it at Catholic Central? Steubenville Central Catholic, the Crusaders. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. First round. We've gotten a chance to see them a few times too, and you got to figure, of course, with Lowville being a 2 seed, heavy favorites going into this one. but 3-7 on the year. Steubenville Central Catholic is.
There must be something about being a Central Catholic team that makes you want to call yourselves the Crusaders, because Canton Central Catholic is also the Crusaders.
Just like the C's. It's just weird because it's Steubenville, so you can't go Tri-C. It's just Steubenville Central Catholic.
No, it's not Tri-C.
You can do Tri-C with Canton and Cleveland.
We talked about the battle for the bridge. Edgewood wins the Thriller 32-28. They hold off a comeback attempt. They go to the Dragon's Den and get the victory in the battle of the bridge. Edgewood wins 32-28.
Should be interesting to see because we mentioned Edgewood going to go to the home of the Wildcats in Struthers to take on Struthers in a away matchup. But Edgewood winning the battle of the bridge gets themselves a 9 seed, and it's a battle of 6 and 4 teams on Friday.
On the other side, Lakeside, a little bit of a falter this season because remember, they came into week 4, the 1 seed in that Division II region, but they have dropped since. I think they lost to Geneva that week, and they've been kind of faltering and trying to pick up their steps ever since.
Yeah, they're all the way down right now to the 15th seed, and they're going to be matched up with Riverside, a 9-1 opponent in round 1.
That's brutal. That's a brutal draw. Riverside is arguably despite not being the 1 seed, they could be a very big favorite in that region to win it.
They definitely are. I mean, Coach Boer's over there, 9-1 on the season. Their one loss to a Menor team, and it was 7-6.
Right. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Lakeside definitely had an impressive start to the season, but now they're stumbling into the playoffs, but they did make it. So that's good for the Dragons. 45-19, Lindsley goes and beats Louisville on the season-ending loss for the Leopards.
Yeah, that Lindsley team's come up and bit a few ISN teams on this season, and they got the Leopards too and held them from the playoffs, unfortunately, this season. Nice season, though, for Louisville with some things to build on going forward.
Yep, absolutely. The Leopards, great season. You gave us a couple of really great games, and thank you, as always, for bringing us on the ride. Edison gets the win over Indian Creek 28-7 as they continue their defensive rampage through the season. They end at 10-0. So now we can officially say 3 years ago, 0-10. 3 years later, 10-0. Great turnaround. Mike Colapi has done an exceptional job with these Wildcats. And, that's a really quick turnaround that you don't see a lot in high school football, going from 0-10 1 year in 2019. You had the COVID year, which was shaky. I think they had 3 or 4 wins. We've done this before, and I think I get it right or wrong every time. But the COVID year, 3 or 4, and then last year, 7 wins, if I'm not mistaken, and then 10-0 this year.
Just constantly improving are the Wildcats. They were a playoff team a year ago, but dropped it in the first round. They're going to look to continue pushing and continue getting better. They had a better regular season, 10-0. Perfect.
This team feels different than last year's team, though. If I could be wrong, because this is just going off my memory, but I think last year they started off really, really hot, and then they kind of stumbled into the playoffs. The meat of their schedule was at the end of the year, and they kind of, lost maybe like 3 of their last 4 or something like that. This year they're 10-0. Like they have everything in front of them. They have all the momentum in the world into the playoffs. I think this is a little bit of a different Edison team and how they feel going into this playoffs, this postseason.
Yeah, and I mean, they dropped that one game to Harrison Central last year. That was a little bit later in the season. And for the Wildcats too, the one matchup that you wanted to see this year that they didn't was Beaver Local, and that was a close matchup, 27-21. Beaver Local won it last year. That was a matchup I would have liked to see this year, and hopefully we might see in future. But yeah, for the Edison Wildcats, perfect 10-0 season this year, and they're ready for the playoffs against Mooney.
Where they beat that Toronto team that came in undefeated, maybe one of their biggest wins of the season for the Wildcats as they prepare for what is going to be their biggest win if they're able to pull it off, hands down, as they play Cardinal Mooney in week 11.
It's a good program for sure.
And last but not least, as we talked about a little bit earlier, Kirtland was able to beat Orange 42-0 to close out the Lions season.
Yeah, great to have the Lions on for the first season with YSN. We look forward to future coverage with Orange High School.
Okay, so that's the whole Week 10 recap. All the scores are in tie, and I'm sure you have the playoff matchups up. So let's just go and just who's playing who, and we'll start with Division 2. Obviously, we don't have any Division 1 teams on YSN, so only a couple in Division 2. run down where they're seated and who they're playing.
The only team we have that's in the YSN network that's in Division II is Austintown Fitch, and we mentioned they play Mayfield in a 4 versus 13 matchup.
And I believe all the first round games are going to be on Friday, and then when they get into the regional quarterfinals, they split it to Friday, Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so as well, yeah.
So Division III, who we got?
Canfield's going to be Division 2 seed. They're going to be taking on New Philadelphia. 3 seed's going to be Ursuline. They're going to be taking on Hawken. 5 seed's going to be Cheney. They'll be taking on Alliance. And that is it for our YSN teams in Division.
Cheney Alliance is going to be an interesting matchup, too. Alliance knows how to score, that's for sure.
No doubt Aviators have been able to push some of the best teams in the Division 4 Region 13. So going to be interesting to see if Cheney and Alliance are going to be able to, or if Cheney's going to be able to pull off the win against Alliance. Definitely going to be interesting.
Speaking of Division 4, this is when we get to see more YSN teams be represented. Who we got in Division 4?
For Region 13, West Branch, the 1, they're going to be taking on Mogador Field, the 16. Beaver Local, the 2, they'll take on Akron Coventry, the 15. Girard, the 3, taking on 14 Hubbard. Jefferson, the 6, they're going to be taking on Poland. And then I believe Salem will be taking on Canton South in a rematch of old conference rivals. Canton South not in that conference anymore. And then Struthers Edgewood will take on each other in an 8-9 matchup.
So is Salem 7 or 10 in that matchup?
Salem is 10. They're going to Canton South.
That familiar opponent, that's for sure. You thought you were rid of them as they exited the lead, but the playoff system says not so fast. You still have to play the Wildcats.
Yeah, get to familiarize yourself with them once again.
All right, so we have the top 3 seeds, and we almost made a top 4. Jefferson got the win, but they couldn't find the help within the rest of their schedule and their wins to get up into the top 4. So we go 1, 2, and 3, and then 6. So 4 of the top 6 teams are YSN family schools, which is awesome.
Struthers, too, also in the top 8. So 5 teams in the YSN family hosting first week in that region.
Always good news. Let's go to Division 5, Region 17.
South Range, the number 1, they're going to take on Liberty, the 16. Edison's 4, taking on 13 Mooney. And then Garfield, the 9 seed, going to Conneaut, the 8.
I think the most interesting match, obviously we've talked a lot about Edison Mooney, but that Garfield Conneaut 9 versus 8 is going to be a fun one. 2 old school, hard-nosed football teams that are going to pound each other up.
It's a battle of 8 and 2 football teams right now, and that's what's going to be the most interesting going into Friday. 2 really good quality programs, 2 really good quality seasons.
Here's also something to watch. Whoever comes out of that, you would imagine is going to feel it, right? It's going to be a physical football game. You're going to be banged and bruised, and your reward for winning that game is the if the numbers played chalk, is the 1 seed.
Congrats.
But it's going to be interesting to see the teams come back from that really tough physical game and get ready to play their biggest opponent of the year the next round.
Yeah, it will be. I'm curious to see who's going to be up for the challenge for sure.
All right, let's go into Division 6, Region 21, I believe.
Yeah, you're going to see Valley Christian taking on Trinity. Jackson Milton takes on Dalton, Jackson Milton being the 13 seed. Mineral Ridge, the 10 seed's going to take on Canton Central Catholic. And then United, the 9 seed's going to Rootstown, the 8.
Ooh, I think that's a cool matchup. Rootstown United, 9 versus 8 again. This is one of the things I liked about the expansion of the playoffs, these 9-8 matchups. And you give the 8 seed, who always was the team that was the bottom rung of the playoffs in the old setting, and basically had to go right on the road to the 1 seed in the first round. Now that 8-9 matchup becomes really intriguing, and you get an 8 seed that gets to host 1 round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and hosting a playoff game is always fun for these schools and for these communities. So
Rootstown's right down the road from you.
Yeah, not too far. Should be interesting to see how the Eagles fair against Region.
I think we've only seen Rootstown twice this year. I think JFK beat them up, right? And then Champion was the one that let them slip away.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Rootstown, a solid team. Should be interesting to see. 7-3 on the year, United 8-2. So Mogador was the one that just recently beat them. They're 9-0 on the season as well. Conneaut beat them, who's 8-2, and then JFK. So some really good teams beating the Rovers this year.
Yeah, definitely United's offense is going to have to show up. I think their defense is good enough, like a lot of teams in this playoff picture, good enough to beat their opponent with defense. But United's offense got to be what we know them to be, not what we saw in Week 10.
Absolutely. A lot of things to learn from in Week 10 going into the playoffs.
All right, let's hop into Division 6. I think that's Region 25.
Division 7. Yeah, Region 25. JFK, the one that
we skipped. Oh, we just did 6, didn't we? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Region 7.
Region 21 or Region 25. Fairport Harding goes to JFK 1 versus 16. Wyndham will go to Danville in a 14-3 matchup. Lowville, the 2 seed, hosts Steubenville Central Catholic. Springfield will host Matthews in an 8-9 matchup. Lisbon's going to go to Norwalk St. Paul in a 5-12. And that is it for the playoffs in Division 7, Region 25.
All right. I think that Norwalk St. Paul team is a team that is going to be heard from this year. I mean, they're a 5 seed, but I think they're a little bit underseeded. And they've always had something to say in those regions. So I think St. Paul is going to be a team that you hear from in the 5 seed if Lisbon can't knock them off, which we definitely hope they're able to do. That would be a great cap on Lisbon's incredible season so far.
Absolutely. Tough team, though, for sure, in St. Paul.
All right, let's take our second break of the day because that wraps up kind of the Week 10. And we'll have definitely more playoff previews as the week goes along. We'll break down these matchups, talk about what makes them so great. But today we just wanted to recap Week 10 and tell you where all these teams kind of landed in the playoff pairings. And when we come back, we'll talk about kind of the other results over the weekend from the other sports and kind of headline what the rest of the tournament scope and tournament picture looks like for these other sports. We'll be right back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged. Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
How lucky are we to have not one, but 2 18-hole Donald Ross Championship golf courses right here in our backyards. Mill Creek Golf Course was selected by Golf Week as one of America's 30 best municipal courses, continuing to challenge golfers of all levels and featuring golf instruction by PGA professionals, a state-of-the-art practice range, a PGA of America recognized pro shop, kids programs, and a relaxing grill room for a memorable golf experience. For more information or to schedule a tee time, visit millcreekmetroparks.org.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Going from mindful to mindful sometimes requires a helping, healing hand. Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness offers a continuum of mental health and wellness care. At Insight, we're changing the way you receive counseling and wellness services with experienced licensed clinicians and expertly trained wellness staff. With 4 locations in Mahoning and Columbiana County, along with telehealth services, Insight offers clients quick access to care when they need it. Transform your mental health and wellness at Insight Clinical Counseling and Wellness.
Hi, this is Zell Bush.
Hi, this is Tom Klim. Hi, this is Steve Bracetto.
Hi, this is Ryan Miller.
Hi, this is Rich Sakui from WRS Wealth Advisors.
With our combined 80 years of experience,
WRS Wealth Advisors are the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists.
Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services.
Or visit WRSwealth.com.
Go Raiders.
Go Dog.
Go Cats. Go Dogs. Go Tigers.
Jimmy Sudman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Reliability, innovation, scale. These three values are those we look forward to in our business and in our team. If you're ready for a reliable employer who looks constantly to think outside the box in big ways, we're ready for you. Apply now. Help us push the envelope and deliver success. Envelope 1. Take that one extra step.
Winter, spring, summer, and fall. Mill Creek Metro Parks is your park for all seasons. Make a memory in the park. Plan your visit today at millcreekmetroparks.org.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell. We have recapped the Week 10 finals, and we have gone over where these playoff pairings are matched up. We will definitely continue to preview the football playoffs as the week goes on. We'll talk about these matchups in length with Power Hour, Casual Sports, and Running Point all together. You'll definitely get a plethora of insight into what to expect out of Week 11 as the week goes on. But we will venture on into Saturday's recaps and the finals from volleyball and soccer tournaments on Saturday. Volleyball and boys soccer specifically. Austintown, we'll start with volleyball. Austintown Fitch, they take care of Nordonia as they have the first two games hosted. They played much higher seeds than them. They took care of business, and they swept Nordonia 3-0. Jocelyn Jordan doing what she does all the time. Double-double for her. Afton Roby had 10 kills for the Falcons and a couple of blocks. And Riley Simons, 32 assists, like always. You know, it's just ho-hum for Fitch. They have a big matchup, though, coming up as they'll play the 6th seed going into the district semifinals. They are the 4, so it'll be 4 versus 6. That will take place in Mentor on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So on tomorrow. I think they're the nightcap, 7:30, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it should be fun to see the Falcons continue their push for a district.
You know, last year they got to the championship game. They lost in the district championship game, so they're looking to get back there this year and try to take that next step as a program. You get out of districts in Division I, you're doing something right, because it's a different animal. We talk about that in every sport. When you hit Division I, there's just more parity, a lot more talent in the district in Division I, widespread. And it's gonna be a tough one for Fitch just to get out of it. So they have to take care of business against the seed that they're technically higher than, but 4-6, that's a coin toss in Division I. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that game once again will be tomorrow in Mentor. Division 1 and 4 will play tomorrow. Divisions 2 and 3 will play on Wednesday in the district semifinals, and then the championship games will be Thursday for Divisions 1 and 4, and then Saturday for Divisions 2 and 3. We go into Division 2 now as Edgewood swept Struthers to move on to districts. West Branch was able to beat Geneva in 4. Tough sets against the Eagles, but the Warriors pull out 3 out of 4 and get the win to move on. They will move on into the district, and then Middle Ridge was able to sweep Wycliffe down in Division 3. Also in Division 3, Garfield was able to get the sweep 3-0 over Osborne. We go into Division 3 as well. Badger gets the win over Richmond Heights 3-0. East Palestine season comes to an end. as they got swept by Dalton over the weekend. Boardman also we have to say goodbye to in Division 1. They lost to Lakeside 3-1, 4-set loss by Boardman. Jefferson sweeps Alliance to move on to the district semis. Kirtland sweeps champion. Berkshire is able to get the 4-set win over Campbell. Campbell fought hard. They came back and they won set 3 after being down 2-0. And they competed hard in set 4. I think it was 25-23 if my memory serves right. But they could not win set 4. They lose in their season, which is a really good season for Campbell. I think it actually was the best season in program history for the Red Devils, as all but one of those players are coming back next year. So a lot to look forward to on Campbell volleyball. Latonia ends their season with a 3-0 loss to Canton Central Catholic. And last but not least, in the volleyball side, McDonald wins over the Academy of Urban Scholars 3-0. So McDonald is moving on. And we just lost Ty. So while we try to get Ty, I'll bring up these brackets and tell you where those teams that just won kind of line up in the district semifinals for this week in volleyball. And once again, we will start like we did in the recaps. Hold the phone. There are my brackets. I think they got lost in the shuffle. There they are. We will go into Division 1, and we will look at Fitch, who is in the Mentor District. They will line up against the 6th seed Hudson, and that will be tomorrow night at 7:30, the nightcap. Fitch versus Hudson, that's 4 versus 6. On the other side of the district, you're going to have the 15th seed North Canton Hoover, who upset the 12th seed South over the weekend 3-2. And then we will also see Canton Glen Oak, the 3 seed, on the other side of that district semifinal tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So that'll be the first game of the doubleheader. Glen Oak versus Hoover, and then Fitch versus Hudson will be the second half tomorrow, 6 and 7:30 down in Minter High School for those 2 games. That's the only team we have left in Division 1. Boardman lost over the weekend, so we'll hop to Division 2 and go into the Jefferson District first, as Girard was able to get the win on Thursday, to advance to the district semifinal. They will play Wednesday, and it will be 1-seeded Girard. They are the top seed in the district. They will play a very good Aurora team that got the win over 7-seeded Howland in straight sets. They are the 9 seed, but we talked about Aurora earlier in the season, and we talked about them in the tournament preview. They are a team that dropped down from Division 1 to Division 2, and they have had success in that Division 1 district tournament before. They are the team that Fitch had to come back on last year to get to the district championship. They had that 2-0 lead on Fitch and lost it 3-2. On the other side of that bracket, we have Edgewood, the 13 seed. They will play Marlington, the 2 seed, as those 2 teams go at it in the nightcap of that game. Edgewood was able to beat Struthers, and they advance. And then we saw Marlington take care of Kenston 3-0 as well. So that will be down in Jefferson High School on Wednesday. 6 o'clock start time for Girard against Aurora, and then a 7:30 start time for Edgewood against Marlington. We go into the Streetsboro District in Division 2. The top seed in the district, Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, had no problems with Crestwood on Thursday. They 1-3. They are in the semifinals, and then they will have to play Canfield, who is a 4-set winner over Perry last week. So Canfield, the 8 seed, against Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, the 3 seed. That's at 6 o'clock in Streetsboro on Wednesday. And then we go to the bottom of the bracket. Jefferson, the 5 seed, they got the win last week. They actually got the win on Saturday, over Alliance in 3, 25-13, 25-10, 25-17. So Jefferson looking really impressive. They will match up with 6-seeded West Branch, 5 versus 6. Going to be a good one on Wednesday, 7:30 in Streetsboro for that one. That'll close out Division 2. We hop into Division 3 as Ty comes back. In Division 3, we'll go into the Grand Valley District. The top of it is Crestview, the 2 seed. They were able to win last week to advance to the district semifinals over Waterloo. Their matchup will be against Lakeview. This is a matchup between 8 and 9 in the state in Division 3. That'll be Wednesday at 6 o'clock at Grand Valley High School. And then the nightcap down there also consists of state-ranked teams, as Kirtland will match up against Middle Ridge. That is 13 in the state versus 16 in the state. So 4 state-ranked teams in one bracket, and they all have made it to the district semifinals. That will be a premier place to be if you're a volleyball fan on Wednesday at Grand Valley. Crestview, Lakeview at 6, Middle Ridge versus Kirtland at 7:30.
Yeah, two really good matchups for sure, and that's going to be exciting to see.
We talked about this district as a whole when it came out before the brackets were released, that there were 5 state-ranked teams in the whole district. And a lot of the coaches, Coach Howard included, have said on record that they would be shocked if a state champion doesn't come out of the Northeast District with 5 state-ranked teams in there. A lot of good volleyball, and they're going to separate themselves this week as, once again, 4 in the semifinals. Only 2 can advance. So it's kind of a shame that, 2 of these really good volleyball teams have to see their season end. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it really shaped out. And it's going to be a fun night on Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely excited for it, no doubt.
All right, we go from that bracket down to the Medina bracket, which is actually lined up with Grand Valley in the regional. So the winner of these 2 districts will play each other in the regional semifinals in Barberton. They are the only Northeast District brackets that are lined up with each other in regionals. So for these semifinals, which will be down in Medina, it is South Range, the 11 seed. They got the upset win over LeBray last week in 3 sets. So they are riding high as the 11 seed in the semifinals, but they will play the number 1 team in the district and the number 1 team in the state in Minter Lake Catholic. So a big test ahead for South Range.
Got to beat the best to be the best.
The bottom of the bracket is a rematch between Berkshire and Garfield. 6 seed versus 7 seed. These two teams played early on the season. It was Berkshire that won in 5 at Garrettsville Garfield. This one will be neutral site, of course, and a rematch in a game that I'm sure Garfield feels like they have every chance to win.
Should be exciting to see if Garfield comes out with a different type of energy now that they've lost in 5 sets to Berkshire. That was a heck of a match.
I know you were there to call that one. What kind of things do you think Garfield can do to change that result?
I mean, you just got to keep up pace-wise with Berkshire. They're just defensively sound. I mean, they don't let up on anything. They fight for everything, too. So you're going to see girls diving to try to keep balls in the air and trying to just keep volleys alive. So it's one of those teams that they go the extra effort on the hustle game. You got to match them if you want to beat them.
Yeah, Berkshire kind of spoiled the party. We were hoping for an all-YSN matchup in the semifinal, but it did not happen. Berkshire able to beat Camel in 4, 3-1. The set scores in this game, though, 22-25. Camel won the first set. Berkshire came back and won the next 2, 25-16, 25-12. So it looked like they had control. Camel fought hard in set 4, but could not win it. 25-21. Berkshire takes away the win. So if you're Camel, you just look back and you say, we can't give away sets. And that's what they did in that game. Sets 2 and 3 were just kind of giveaways, but they competed in sets 1 and 4. Garfield was able to sweep their opponent, which was Osborne. That was 3, easy ones, 25-9. Well, not easy, because the next 2 were 25-22, 25-23. So both teams had to fight a little bit to get into these semifinals. So it will also be interesting to see what team comes out with more momentum. That'll be Wednesday at 7:30, and that'll be in Medina. And then the nightcap of the doubleheader, South Range versus Lake Catholic, is the first game of the night. So that's Division 3, and that will go into the Division 4 semifinals. We'll start with the Columbiana bracket, and we have the top seed in the bracket, Western Reserve. In the semifinals, they got the win over Wyndham last week, so they advanced as the 2 seed. They will line up against Southern, the 6 seed, who was able to beat the 7 seed Springfield in a 5-set thriller. So Southern versus Western Reserve on Tuesday at 6 o'clock in Columbiana. And then you have the other half of the bracket. We will have Lake Center Christian, the 3 seed. They were able to get the win last week over Mogador, the 9 seed. So they advance. And then we will have they will go up against Canton Catholic, who is the 5 seed. So 5 versus 3 and 2 versus 6 in those 2 semifinals at Columbiana. Should be a good set of matchups in the Clippers hangar on tomorrow, I should say.
Yeah.
Then we'll go into on tomorrow, but whatever. We'll go into the Lisbon bracket, the final one left in Division 4 for our YSN teams, and it will be Sebring, who got the upset win over Jackson Milton in 3 straight sets. It was a sweep for Sebring. They advance into the bracket semifinals, but they have the 1 seed Wellsville to contend with, who beat St. Thomas Aquinas in 3 pretty handedly, 25-8, 25-7, 25-5. And then we'll go to the bottom half of that bracket. McDonald will be the 4 seed. They are in the semifinals. They will play the 8 seed in Dalton, who beat East Palestine, the 10 seed, in 3 straight sets. So McDonald versus Dalton in one half of that semifinal, and then Wellsville versus Sebring in the other half.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited to see. I mean, Wellsville's been on a tear ever since the beginning of the season. Just exciting to see what they're going to be able to do.
Yeah, they dropped that 1 game in Western Reserve to lead off the season, and they have not lost since.
Yeah, I mean, they really have. They've really just turned it up, and they've refocused, honestly.
Yeah, and they've definitely gone through with some adversity off the court that makes that run even more impressive. We want to go into find Beaver Local in East Liverpool, who is the 2 seed, real quick. And I think they are in the East 1 bracket in Division 2, if I'm not mistaken. They are. They are in the semifinals as the 2 seed. That game will be tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and they will play John Glenn, the 9 seed. And the location for that game is Harrison Central High School. They will host that district semifinal at 6 o'clock tomorrow. So good luck to the 2 seed East Liverpool as they play John Glenn. The other half of that bracket will be New Philadelphia, the 3 seed. They'll be taking on, how do I even say this? Coshocton? I don't know. They're the 4 seed. COSH. I've never heard of this school. COSHOCTON. Coshocton.
Maybe.
Coshocton. I don't know. 3 versus 4 should be a good one though. That is Tuesday at 6 o'clock. But these, unlike the other districts, these 2 will be held at different places because that one will be at Garaway at 6. So no doubleheader in the East District of Division 2. One will be in Garaway, which is the New Philadelphia versus Coshocton matchup, and then East Liverpool versus John Glenn will be in Harrison Central. Familiar opponent for that one too, because East Liverpool definitely travels to Harrison Central as that's a conference opponent. So very familiar place to be for East Liverpool as they try to advance to the district championship as the 2 seed in Division 2 East 1.
Yeah, I'm excited to see East Liverpool having a great season too. They're looking to continue it.
Yep. So that'll do it for kind of where the playoff picture right now looks for volleyball. Now let's go into the Saturday soccer matchups on the boys' side of things. And we look, it was Howland that beat Lakeview 4-0 to advance just another sectional tournament win for them. No surprise there from the Tigers. We saw Ursuline beat Salem in boys soccer 2-0 on Saturday to advance. Then we saw Hubbard beat Ravenna in a tight game 2-1. Poland was able to take care of Niles 9-0. That Poland team on a mission trying to win a district championship. I know their seniors want it really, really bad. Girard got the win over Canfield 2-0 to advance. And then we saw Maslin Jackson knock down Fitch 2-1. And Louisville was able to knock out Dover 2-1. So those are the boys soccer scores on Saturday of the tournament. Those were all sectional finals, so they are in the district semifinals like volleyball.
Yeah, I mean this is going to be an exciting tournament too. I mean volleyball, soccer, all the playoffs starting right now. Football this week. I mean it's a madhouse now. This are all big games too because these teams got through sectionals and now I mean the real games really feel like they're going to start. Not that the ones before weren't, but like this is where you get real competition. The real teams have gotten a couple playoff wins under their belt. Now they're geared up and ready for districts.
So this is what the soccer brackets look like. Howland is the 1 seed in the Akron 1 Division 2 bracket. They advance to the semifinals. They will play Notre Dame Cathedral Latin, who is the 15 seed. They got the upset over the 7-seeded Marlington team.
They're always a good
that
team.
was what?
They're always a good team, NDCL.
Yep. 2-0 NDCL got that win, so that's who Howland will have to face on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. And then you will have Kinston on the other side of the bracket, the 4 seed. They will square up with Ursuline, the 9 seed. Ursuline got the win over Salem, which was the 10. So it was a 9-10 matchup. Ursuline won 2-0. That game will be on Tuesday at 6 as well. These will be hosted by the higher seeds. So no neutral sites until the championship, I believe, in soccer. So Howland will play Howland will play Notre Dame Cathedral Latin in Howland, and then Kinston will play Ursuline in Kinston in that Division 2 Akron 1 district. Excuse me. We'll go to Akron 2 and check out what that bracket looks like. Top half of the bracket, it is Painesville Harvey, the 2 seed, against Hubbard, the 6 seed. Hubbard got the win again over Ravenna, the 8 seed, 2-1 over the weekend. So they advanced to the semifinals. Bottom half of that bracket looks like this. The Poland 3 seed, they will square off against Canfield. So a battle of 224 as Canfield beat Girard 6-2 after falling down 2-0 in that game. So Canfield 5 versus Poland 3, battle of 224, rematch on Tuesday at 6 o'clock in Poland. And then we'll see Hubbard travel to the 2 seed Harvey on Tuesday at 6 o'clock as well.
That's going to be fun, too. I mean, Harvey always a solid team, too, it seems like.
Can you ask much more than a battle of 224 with a trip to the championship on the line?
I mean, that's all. It always seems like it comes in the biggest moments of the battle of 224.
It sure does. We'll go down to Division 3, and we'll look at the Akron 1 district first, and it will be the top seed Beechwood team. They will play Laudenville in the top half of the bracket. Bottom half looks like Kirtland versus Fairview. So we have no YSN teams left in that bracket. We started with a couple of them, but the top seeds in that bracket have definitely flexed their muscles. We go to Akron 2, and it looks like Norwayne, the 2 seed, will take on Crestwood, the 12. Berkshire, the 5, will take on Independence, the 7. So no YSN teams there either. We'll go to Niles 1. The Niles 1 bracket looks like this. It is Cardinal Mooney, the 1 seed. They will go on against Maplewood, the 9 seed. That game will be on Tuesday at 7 o'clock with Cardinal Mooney hosting. And then John F. Kennedy, KFK, the 5 seed, they will host Tusky Valley, the 7 seed, on Tuesday at 4:30. So an early start time there for JFK and Tusky Valley.
Very early start there. That's almost like right after school. Got to get right to the game.
Right. Nothing to it but to do it. And then we go into the Niles 2 bracket in Division 3. It is Badger, the 2 seed. They will host Champion, the 6 seed, an all YSN matchup in that one. So we are guaranteed a YSN team in the championship there. And then the other half of the bracket sees Wycliffe, the 3 seed, going up against Crestview, the 4 seed. That game will be in Wycliffe on Tuesday at 6. The top half of that bracket will be in Badger Tuesday at 4:30.
A lot of big games coming up this week for sure.
All right, so we go from that. Let's look at the girls tournament and where they sit. We will start in Division 2. We will go to Akron 1. And at the top half of that bracket looks like this. Kinston, the 2 seed, will take on Marlington, the 11, in the top half of that bracket. Bottom half sees Canfield, the 3 seed. They were able to beat Jefferson last week 7-0. They will play Streetsboro, the 10 seed. That game will be on tonight, actually, at 6 o'clock. That game will be taking place at Canfield. They will host as the higher seed. So Canfield hosts the district semifinal against Streetsboro, the 10 seed. And that Streetsboro team upset 8-seeded Niles McKinley to get here to this point. So that's how that bracket looks in Division 2 Akron 1. We go to Division 2, Akron 2, and it looks like this. Salem, the 4 seed, after their overtime win over Ursuline, is in the district semifinals. They will have a game tonight at home against West Geauga, the 6 seed. That game at 6 o'clock in Salem. Bottom half of the bracket sees Alliance, the 7 seed. They will travel to West Branch, who is the 1 seed of this bracket. That'll be at 6 o'clock as well tonight.
A lot of matchups that are happening this week too. I mean, it's crazy how often you're going to see them too. Every single night, different sports. You better get out and support.
We go to Division 3, Akron. Let's see, I think it's Akron 2 and 1. So we'll go with Akron 1 first. And we have Waterloo, the 2 seed in this bracket. They will have the game tonight, the semifinal at 6 o'clock against Badger, the 7 seed. A big game for Waterloo as they advance to districts for the first time in 12 years. So they'll try to get to the championship game. On the bottom half of that bracket, you see Lakeview, the 3 seed. They will square up against Champion, the 4 seed. Champion, the only do you call it a blemish in soccer if it's a tie? I think it's a blemish if you don't win. The only blemish on Waterloo's schedule, 16-0-1, and that one tie was the first matchup with Champion. So that should be a good one between Lakeview and Champion, 3 versus 4 tonight at 6 o'clock in Lakeview. We go to Akron 2, and it is Poland, the 1 seed. They will play tonight against United, the 9 seed in Poland. And then last but not least, you have Mooney, the 15 seed. They got the big upset over Ravenna Southeast, 4-1 last week to advance. They will play Springfield, the 8 seed, if I'm seeing that right. Yep, the 8 seed. That'll be tonight, and it'll actually be in Springfield. So Springfield gets to host a district semifinal as the 8 seed after the upset by Cardinal Mooney.
Yeah, I mean, upsets, that's what the sport is filled of, and Mooney is no stranger to that before.
So if you were paying attention, we are guaranteed a YSN district champion in both these brackets, and they are lined up with each other. So we are guaranteed at least one team in the Division 3 regional final because of the way that has been set up. Because in the Akron 1, of course, we have Waterloo against Badger. Those are 2 YSN teams. And then in the bottom, we have Lakeview versus Champion. Those are 2 YSN teams. One of them will win, and they're matched up with Akron 2, which we see have Poland. Oops, I clicked on the wrong one. Akron 2. We see that one being Poland versus United, all YSN. And we see Cardinal Mooney versus Springfield, all YSN. So those 2 teams will match up with each other in the regional semifinals, those 2 bracket winners. So we are guaranteed a soccer team in the regional final in Division 3 girls side of things.
Certainly exciting. There's going to be a seat at the table. Who's going to sit?
And that means we have a good chance of someone making it to the state tournament in the YSN family.
Yeah, at least, I mean, your hat gets thrown into the ring, right? I mean, you have a chance for sure.
So it's going to be a fun night tonight as we'll have our district championships locked in tomorrow. Those district championships, by the way, on the girls' side will be on the 27th at 6 o'clock. The 27th, I'm just doing the math, 3 days. 27th will be Thursday. So by Friday, when we come back on Friday, we will know who those district champions are and who is lined up in the regionals against each other in Division 3 and 2 and 1. Fun times. Fun times.
Results are we're gonna know everyone. We're gonna know exactly where everything's gonna shake out. There's gonna be district championships on the line. We're gonna know who's gonna be sitting at those tables as well.
Ty, do you know where you can find those results tonight? All those scores, man. You don't have to go anywhere.
We got a nice scoreboard. Yeah, nice scoreboard.
All the girls soccer district semifinals will be updated on there, and when the finals come in, they'll be posted up there, and you can check them out on ysnlive.com.
We got a nice scoreboard for you too. Just go right over to our tabs too, and it's updated daily. And you can go and find all the old scores too. There's a nice little scroll at the bottom too, where you can find previous dates scores and find all of them from the week.
we announced this last week. Starting at basketball season, that page is also going to include conference standings as well. So you'll be able to look at the scores, and then you'll be able to go into the standings page and see how that score affected each team in their conference.
I can't wait. I love basketball season, and it's another notch that we're gonna have on our belt, and I can't wait for it. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the extra attention given to basketball season because I mean I know everyone. I know we are live, breathe, and eat football here in Northeast Ohio, but I'm still a basketball junkie at heart. So the winters go by a little bit easier and a little bit smoother when basketball is still.
That's the great thing about YSN. We don't slow down when the sport goes away. So, like when it's basketball season, it's all about the winter sports, wrestling too. And then when it's baseball, softball season, it's like full steam ahead on that. So
You got to hold on your softball itch. You got some time to wait.
It really helped that I got to write a couple of softball stories last week with two people committing. By the way, I don't know if we had a chance to do this on the air. Congratulations to Austin Fitch's Ayla Ray. She is committed verbally to Youngstown State University, so she will continue her career as a Penguin as she commits there. And then we have Maddie Benson from Louisville, who has verbally committed to the University of Maryland, so she'll be playing in the Big Ten as a Power 5 athlete.
Yeah, Maddie Benson has one of the nicest swings I've ever seen from a softball player, and I mean it generates a lot of power too, and you can see it at that.
Broke
And
the
for
Louisville record for home runs in a season for a reason.
dozen, yep. And for Ayla Ray, I was talking with her dad too, and curious about where she might be going because she was already fielding some offers for the next level, and I think it just comes down to her dad went to YSU. She has strong ties with this area, and she wants to keep playing for the Youngstown area, and I think it's awesome that Ayla is going to stay home and really a great addition to the YSU lineup, I think.
Both those players going into their junior season, so they'll both be able to just kind of have that weight lifted off their shoulders and not have to worry about the recruiting process anymore. They can just focus on their, making their high school team the best it can be. We've talked to seniors that commit before their senior year on what a big relief it is just to get that done before their senior season. Those two athletes will have it done going into their junior season, so they're done with the recruiting process up until they're not up until anything. They're done with it. They're not
I know you love that YSU softball team, man, and I'm sure you're super excited that
they will be joining a lot of former YSN players there. Now, obviously, the roster will change a little bit in the next 2 years, but right now we have, Sophia Howell from Champion, Contetta Rinaldi's on that team from Mooney. We have Megan Turner from Champion, Bree Kohler from South Range. A lot of YSN talent on that YSU roster. So Ayla Ray going to be adding to that in a couple of years when she gets done in Austintown.
I love YSU's efforts to keep a lot of these athletes local and nabbing a lot of good athletes.
A lot of the YSU sports are sometimes criticized by the outside viewers for not recruiting locally, but you can't say that about the softball team. They're getting a lot of these local players to come play for
softball and baseball team. I mean, both sides. I mean, they're doing a great job of bringing local kids in, and why not? We have a lot of great local talent right in your backyard. You don't have to travel as far to get it.
And it's tough because you got the same level team, in Cleveland State right there that's probably chomping at the bit trying to steal people from this area. And you got Robert Morris, who's the other way, but really not that far away from Youngstown either. Probably chomping at the bit trying to pull recruits out of YSU too. So when you have two teams in the Horizon League that are regional, I guess you would say. I mean, I wouldn't call them local, but they're regional. That can make recruiting very, very tough when you're trying to recruit in your area.
For some kids, though, man, you can recruit all you want. You don't have the luxury of saying you can be home while you do it, and that's what YSU is able to offer some of these kids, and some of these kids like to get out and travel. They want to branch out. Not saying that Ayla Ray can't, because Ayla Ray could probably go to a decent amount of college.
I was like, Ayla Ray, if she could go to any of the MAC schools that she wanted to.
I mean,
she could probably go to the lower rings of Power 5 too. I mean, I would see no problem with her in Maddie Benson's shoes going to a team like Maryland, who's just trying to build a reputation for themselves in the Big Ten.
And I mean, just to think that she has that kind of talent level, and YSU's able to pull someone like that, it just shows not one for the greatness of the program to be able to pull someone like that, but also just sometimes a college can offer you everything, but they can't offer you a home. And I mean, that's exactly what
that
it was.
home atmosphere is what drew Maddie Benson to Maryland, because Maddie Benson could have gone, I'm telling you, anywhere. She was ranked 12th in the country on her class, tied for 12th, but still 12th in the country
That's
in her
awesome.
class by extra inning softball. So 2024 state rank class ranking, she's in 12th, and she could have gone anywhere. She went to camps at Oklahoma State, Tennessee. Those are big, blue blood championship competing programs that she could have gone to, but there was something about Maryland that kind of stuck with her. And something about that atmosphere in the Terrapins that she stuck with, and the Terrapins got her. That's a Power 5 school, but I'm telling you, Maddie Benson could have gone anywhere. So that tells you just how good of a recruitment Maryland was for her. Personally,
that's a nice grab, and I mean, it's all about what's best for the athletes too. And I mean, they certainly got a good pickup.
Congratulations to both those athletes on committing to play at the next level. I'm sure we'll see more and more tinker down in the next couple of weeks as the fall season ends. Usually we see some of these seniors end their season and then go right into committing in their sport. So I think we're going to see some volleyball seniors make commitments here. Maybe some volleyball juniors make commitments here after the volleyball season is over. We'll probably see some football players also be making that decision as the calendar winds towards winter.
Yeah, it's definitely very exciting on all fronts to see these athletes make it to the next level.
Yeah, and like I said, staying local, YSU, Division I school. Ayla Ray, congratulations on that. Maddie Benson, congratulations on Maryland.
Absolutely. Congrats out to both of them at the next level.
So we kind of already did this when we did our bracket preview, but I just want to go real quick over the games that are going to be going on tonight that deal with YSN family schools. It is girls soccer action. It is all district semifinals here. And we'll just start with where it's in order of the scoreboard that you can find on ysnlive.com. And it looks like this. Lakeview will take on, Howland will take on Green. West Geauga will take on Salem. Alliance will take on West Branch. Then excuse me. You have Streetsboro and Canfield in district semifinal action. Then you have United versus Poland, Cardinal Mooney versus Springfield, Badger versus Waterloo, and Champion versus Lakeview. Then you go over into the other scene. You have Brookfield against I'm on the wrong date. That's why. That's 17th. Okay. 120. I don't know. We went over the semifinals. We know them. So that'll do it for Running Point. As Ty popped out again. I think his Wi-Fi is having a couple of issues. But that pretty much does it for our episode. Anyway, we recap Week 10. We told you where the playoff pairings have put these teams that have won in Week 10 as well. And then we have also gone over what the tournament picture looks like this week in the other sports, volleyball, boys soccer, and girls soccer getting going here. So that'll do it for today's episode of Running Point. My voice is going away anyway, so this is a good time.
I'm having Wi-Fi issues. It's all bad right now.
That's the universe's way of saying let's. Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3. Power Hours got you hooked up from 3 to 4, and then stay tuned to our scoreboard for all the district semifinal matchups tonight, and as well as the ysnlive.com afterwards for recaps and stories on those games as well. We'll see you tomorrow from 12 to 2. Here's a preview of the day. We will have interviews played from Grant Hitchcock, the quarterback from Jefferson. He's locked into a pre-recorded interview, so we'll have him. You'll be able to hear from him. You'll be able to hear from Giorgio Famia from Warren JFK Boys Soccer. He was able to talk with me yesterday, so he's going to be played tomorrow. We'll also have interviews with Maria Razil from McDonald Volleyball and Madison Leone from Western Reserve Volleyball to be played tomorrow as well. So that'll be a fun day on Running Point. Don't miss it, 12 to 2. For Anthony Harvey, Ty Bartell, and everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Casual Sports next on YS.